Hi, Scorpio, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your November 2022 Astro Update. It's Raina here. When I was looking at what kind of transits are occurring in November, I was thinking, wow, it's going to be a quiet month until I remembered that actually it's not that quiet at all because we have a lunar eclipse going on and it's going to be a doozy. And I'm probably going to do a separate video just about that one because I've had my eye on that for a long time, living in the United States and knowing when that is occurring for the United States on election day. And knowing that Uranus is forming a conjunction with this lunar eclipse, which can also be quite dramatic and can even involve technology. So I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of shocking updates or situations occur, maybe quite unexpected, because that's how Uranus rolls, talking about the collective. But for Scorpio, this is falling in your 7th house of committed partnership. Now, I realize full and well that some of you are single right now, but one of the things that Scorpio may struggle with when it comes to relationships, where you already know that just the way that you feel things so deeply, that if you break up with somebody, whether you're the one who breaks up or the other person is, it doesn't really matter because you're still going to be emotionally involved. It's very difficult for a Scorpio person to be completely unfeeling about something. Although I will say that you are, I consider Scorpio the most extreme sign, meaning that in my meaning, it's that you're either engaged with something or it might as well not exist. Because if it's something that you really don't have an interest in, you're not emotionally invested in, you're not going to be very concerned about it. And so in relationships, if you don't really like someone, you don't feel like you resonate with somebody, you're probably not going to get together with them in the first place. So any kind of breakup is going to feel like you might feel a sense of betrayal or a sense of not liking that it has occurred. And how this can manifest after the fact is that you may have difficulty moving on very easily. In other words, you kind of get stuck in what those emotions generated within yourself. And this is because Scorpio is a fixed water sign. So all the water signs, that includes not only you, but Cancer and Pisces, feel their way through life. But because you're a fixed sign, unlike them, you may stay kind of stuck in a particular emotion. And even if you're the one to call it quits, it doesn't mean that you're just going to feel that everything is hunky-dory. It might take you a while to get something out of your system. But in some cases, there is that emotional residue that may stick around. And the lunar eclipse that is occurring on the 8th of November at 16 degrees of Taurus may allow you to kind of let hold of the grips of that relationship and put it behind you finally. Because Uranus has already been in this house for several years in Taurus, and you've already gotten this sense of wanting freedom. So sometimes people want freedom and the universe helps them to achieve it, but it comes in the form of your partner calling it quits before you do. And you're like, hey, wait a second. I was supposed to be the one who left you, not the other way around. And that's kind of the ego. If the ego responds to that situation in such a way, it's kind of silly because it just shows that the person wanted to have the upper hand, so to speak. But they wanted to leave anyway, so what's the big deal? But it does kind of hit differently when you're the one that is being left. But the fact that Uranus is in conjunction with this lunar eclipse as it goes in the retrograde period of time just shows more letting go or releasing, and more of that being sometimes catching people by surprise, because Uranus can be erratic. It's not something you can predict how it's going to work out. But this can be a very liberating time for you, Scorpio, in terms of getting free from some of the chains that bind you. And the 7th house is also a house of public relations. So that may be a breakthrough for some of you, where you just get it's almost like with Uranus's technology, if you go viral on YouTube or something and it wasn't something that you even thought about. I think of so many videos where the people respond later on, they kind of give an update about the video, and they said, we had no idea this was going to catch on. And that's kind of the vibe with this. On the 16th, Venus goes into Sagittarius, and the very next day, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. And on the 22nd, the Sun goes into Sagittarius. Now, Sag for Scorpio is the second house of, I was going to say committed partnership, of earned income. So that has an angle of money attached to it. So that is really kind of a boost to your income. And it just so happens that I mean, you every year you have these types of transits here, although you do not have Mars, and usually Mars is going to be fairly close to Venus. Mars has just gone retrograde at the end of October, so how this can play out, because it's in the opposite sign of Sag. So for you, this is Mars being in your 8th house, and the 8th house is the house of other people's money. So some some Scorpio people may have already been having some kind of a battle with money. That might have something to do with divorce proceedings. Who gets what? But when Mars goes retrograde, some of these things may be thwarted. So maybe there is something that is being put on the shelf legally, so that more evidence can be collected, or some other reason why you can't move forward on something. And what you have to do is you have to be careful that you do not turn on yourself, because Mars is our anger. And when Mars retrograde occurs, we can be feeling that need to turn it towards ourselves or not express it in an outward manner. Sometimes I feel like this may even have to do with outer events that are not allowing certain things to go forward. or if, I don't know the scenario that these may play out with. But for instance, when we had the shutdown, we couldn't do pretty much anything because we didn't have that ability. So even if somebody was in the middle of a lawsuit, I'm sure they had to delay it. And sometimes when you are not able to move forward, it can feel like very, I don't know about anxiety producing, but you just want to get it over with. So you have to, this is actually a great time for shadow work, which the eighth house really is all about. It kind of emphasizes about digging deep within yourself, because you may be tempted due to some of the events that are occurring to project onto somebody else. That seventh house is the opposite house, so it's can be this feeling of oppression or desiring to focus on the other instead of the self. And it's really good to dig deep into the self, into what triggers you. You know, those triggers are information. So there may be information about money because you have Mercury in the second house. So you may receive some kind of message about money, and it could certainly be a positive one. We will see how that transpires, because then on the 23rd, there's a new moon at 1 degree of Sagittarius. And this is when the new moon is when the sun and the moon are in alignment. And so at that time, Jupiter goes direct at 28 degrees of Pisces in fellow water energy. For you, this fifth house, and that's very interesting because that can have, for some of you who have your own business, you might have been putting things on the back burner for some reason. And now you feel like you want to resume, continue. I take it as symbolic and not coincidental that we have a new moon in Sagittarius and Jupiter turning direct on the same day, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So it has a direct connection with it. And so it can just really underscore this idea about moving ahead. Perhaps there's a love interest that you have met in recent months. Jupiter can, in your fifth house, Scorpio, can give you an abundance of potential partners through for some reason. You may be meeting people very easily, but perhaps for several months that hasn't been the case. And now you can look forward to that again. So I hope that this resonated with you, Scorpio. I wish all of you a happy birthday. If you would like a private reading with me, I have a package reading that I'm promoting because it's a significant discount. You're getting an hour of natal chart interpretation with an hour of upcoming transits in the next 12 months called my deep dive reading. And I have single readings also, but this, if you compare the price, is really quite a great deal by getting both of those readings. Some of the single readings that I offer: love readings, life path readings, just the natal chart, just the transits, those kinds of things. You can click on the link below for more information. But thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.